Hey guys, before we begin though, I want to tell you guys something. Hey Jeff, I'm very curious, and also you too, Brandon, because you know Neville Goddard, right? So,
Yes.
what's your thoughts, James, about manifestation? James,
Jeff?
I'm sorry, Jeff. I'm sorry, Jeff. Jeff, what are your thoughts on manifestation?
Manifestation. Yeah, I mean, you get what you believe in. I think that makes sense. It tracks. I haven't read uh, the text and volumes on this, but I believe in it. Yeah.
You believe in it, but you don't even know what it is. You just said, "What is
No, I
it
haven't
to
read
you?"
the text, but I gather it's like you follow your vision. I think this is an example too. What I've just being able to sit here with you, which I'm very grateful for too, Bruno. By the way,
Yeah,
thank you
me
very
too.
much.
This is what I'm talking about too, dude. We're
Yeah, this is
connecting.
manifestation in and of
This
itself.
is,
Just being able to talk about bipolar, talk
bro,
about time, something I've been talking about for 20 years. I mean, it's a real gift.
bro.
So good, thank you.
Oh my God, this is exactly what I was gonna say. I'm manifesting this right now.
I
We're
feel it.
manifesting this together.
I
This is
feel
what
it.
I was wanted to start off with, right? Like because Neville Goddard, he's like some kind of manifestation guy. So I was
Well,
researching him on, huh? Oh, you tell me. You
well,
go ahead. Yeah, Neville
well,
Goddard.
yeah. Well, I just wanted to. Hey, what's up, Cisco? I just wanted to make a distinction. I think Neville makes a little bit of distinction of himself away from like the manifestation crowd. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, but his whole thing is your imagination is the workshop of reality, right? And
Mm.
you know what I
Mm.
mean. And so like everything changes from the belief to the outward, right? Where like most people's inclination is to try to change the external, right?
Hmm.
Chase the thing, work harder at the thing, force the thing. You talk to the other thing, do the work on the thing out here. But his whole thing is this is all a reflection of the inner, right? And so if you want to change anything, you got to change the inner. And like the stuff that we see in our 3D space, like that I always say that's not nature. Like anything that you see that's not nature was a thought first, right? And somebody
Mm.
believed in it
Mm.
long enough and hard enough to make it
Hmm.
become a reality, right? And
Hmm.
so basically all the stuff that we have in our life, if we don't like what it is, all that those things are is a 3D manifestation of prior beliefs, right? And
Yeah.
so like instead of like trying
Mm.
to change that, you got to change this. And once you change this and you change it long enough, the other outside stuff has no choice but to confirm to your belief system, right? But it takes time, and people don't stick it out, right? They're like, yeah,
Mm.
I'm going to start believing this or that. And then it's like they get tested, something happens, there's something that goes against their belief in the 3D space, and then they drop it and they panic and they go into fear and they just start doing what they've always done, and then they get what they always got,
Mm.
right?
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
This is my co-host Brandon. Yeah,
I
baby. This is
think I'm the
my
dumbest guy in the room. I love it. No,
No,
this is
no, you're
fantastic.
not.
You
oh,
blew my
that's
head. Yeah, you blew my mind on
holy
that one.
shit.
That's impressive. Just
That's
I'm
just
just
so
repeating. I'm just
extemporaneously, just
repeating
dropping
stuff that
bombs.
I heard. I didn't invent any of this stuff. You know what I mean?
but go ahead,
Okay.
Jeff.
No, I'm here to listen. This is fantastic. This is class for me.
Hey, guys, but Brandon, the thing is
Yeah.
though, right? Neville Goddard wrote a book called The Feeling is the Secret,
Mm.
Okay.
right? And so I didn't understand it until just now, right before I joined. It's it is the secret because if I think about
Yes.
my whole journey here, because I thought of manifestation as visualization. Ah, you got to visualize, but it's
Oh.
really the feeling. It's the
The
feeling,
feeling.
and then when I look back, because I never visualized this, but I felt
Mm.
it. But I felt it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so
The
when I go,
feeling.
because when I go back, everything I remember having this desire to be doing exactly this. It feels familiar.
Mm.
And I think all throughout my life, I was like training for this, right? Because I was very interested in conversation. I read every single conversation book out there and, like just this obsession, but it wasn't like a fiery obsession. It was something in here that was just kind of dull, but it was growing slowly and slowly and slowly to the point where I started taking action, right? Like
Yeah.
getting on stage on some language apps to talk, Then I became a communications coach, where I met a bunch of people and honed in on my skills, etc., etc. Right? And it's like this is what I manifested right here.
And
Yeah,
it's real
one of
now.
my one
Go
of my
ahead, Jeff.
favorite.
Oh, what's up?
Oh, go ahead. Whoever wants to go.
Go
Oh,
ahead,
sorry. I
Jeff.
was just gonna, and it's real now too. It's really impressive to see what you've done, Bruno, in such a short time,
Uh-huh.
and see how much of the content is resonant with with so many people. It's really cool to see. I only just found you like a
Mm,
couple weeks ago, and
yeah.
I'm on the train, so I can't wait to see what else
You
we
know
do.
what? Jeff actually he's my breakthrough clarity call client. And
Yeah,
he's like, yeah, we've been working together. I know his story. And it's just, you told me you found me whenever you found me on the same day you
signed
booked
right up.
the.
Signed up
Why?
immediately.
Why? I don't understand.
Why?
What is this vibe? I mean,
Well,
you
I
just
think it's
saw one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go
well,
ahead.
I
Go ahead.
think it's a few reasons. I think I really loved your presentation. It's so simple and it's so elegant because it's so concise. You're able to distill very complex topics
Mm.
very eloquently. And that's a rare thing to do. That's a very rare skill. So it shows you're a professional. You've mastered your craft, and so
Damn.
I
I
I
never thought of
aspire.
myself as professional. Wow. Professional what, though, Jeff?
Communicator.
Professional communicator.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, I had to learn more. The opportunity just to be able to talk to you one on one was a gift, and I look forward to
Wow.
more. But no, very grateful for the
Amazing.
content alone, just as a spectator,
Yeah.
But to have you as a
Amazing.
coach is a real gift. Thank you.
Yeah. Amazing. All right, guys. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Vibe Session number 5. We're wrapping up Mental Health Awareness Month, and we saved the best for last, okay? My guest tonight is a founder, inventor, advocate who decided to stop hiding behind his diagnosis and build a movement out of it. Jeff Brown, founder of Bipolarist. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you very much, Bruno. Thank you, Brandon, for having me on the show. This is so cool for me. This is amazing. So thank you for inviting me on. Yeah, it's great. I haven't had a chance to do anything yet for Mental Health Awareness Month. So this is a gift to be able to take the stage and have this conversation with you all.
Awesome. So, guys, tonight we're talking about something most people either whisper about or get completely wrong. Okay. So, as I said, Jeff was one of my clarity clients, and I know his story well. He's one of the most honest people I've come across, and he's built his entire mission around owning his story publicly in a way most people never would. So, Jeff, you've been incredibly open about your journey. I know this. You told me you were committed to a psych ward.
Oh yeah,
Take me take me back to that moment. What was going on? Let's
I
go
get
there.
it. Sure. I mean, I guess the story starts with asking for help. I was in college. This was like 2001 or 2001. I was having a hard time focusing, and I was seeing that it was a lot easier for everybody else, and I was seeing that I was starting to sink.
Mm,
Had some family stuff. My dad had a heart attack. We lost a cousin in September 11th in the Pentagon, and it felt like my world was crashing. So I asked the doctor for some help. He gave me an antidepressant. It didn't work. We tried a different one, and then over the course of a year and a half, a psychiatrist ended up increasing that dose of what I was taking. And while I was doing this, I'm still trying to go through college, and I got stuck on one assignment. It's just this one assignment. It took me 2 semesters, and eventually I dropped out 2 years later trying to finish this essay that's on my website called Feeling Time. And
mm, mm.
this essay was like an opus for me at this time. I'm 20, 22 years old, but writing about time while my mind was spinning out of control because
Mm,
the medicine was causing me to speed up and then crash and get depressed, or speed up and get manic. But no one knew it was bipolar disorder.
mm,
So we thought it was just depression. So as this is
mm.
happening, the medicine I'm taking is making me, rev out like an engine. You just, floor the accelerator, and just my engine disengages. I'm crashing. All the while I start to become fascinated about time, clock time, deep time, space time, event time. Start looking into like string theory, trying to explain things.
While this is all happening, you're thinking about all this other stuff? Is
Yeah, I
that
was
what you're
research
saying?
because I was researching. It was for a research paper in school. I couldn't, and it took me forever to decide what to write about. It took me over. I took an incomplete the first semester because I couldn't figure it out. But meanwhile, like everyone else is just making their way through college, making their way through sophomore year, and I'm just sort of fixated, like what is happening to me, you know?
No. Wow.
And
Okay. Mm-hmm.
yeah, so in that essay became, I became obsessed. I became fixated on specifically on event time and the relative perception of duration, like how my sense of time was varying and highly variable and elastic. And that didn't seem to be like something anyone else was experiencing because the medicine was causing it to happen to me. So eventually, I spun out of control. I got hospitalized after a huge, manic 24 hours. I mean, it was a crazy, wild ride. But they put me in. There's a good podcast interview about this too on the Bipolar Recorder. Jeff runs on Rooftops or something like that. Bipolar Recorder, Hunter Keegan, he's great. But I go into the story in depth there, and I got my bipolar merit badge. This is like 2003, and and I never hid the diagnosis because something happened to me in the psych ward where I wasn't well enough. I wasn't coherent, and the doctors told my mother, my girlfriend at the time, my family, maybe you guys should come in and bring some more people in to kind of remind him of who he is. And in doing that, I lost my ability to not disclose because everyone already knew exactly what was going on with me. So it was kind of humbling. It was humiliating a little bit. And I decided, look, if you guys are going to call me the crazy one, if I'm insane, then that's fine. Call me that. But I've got college to finish. I've got businesses to build, one day patents to get published. And, I was on my own. I was on a mission, and I wasn't going to let this diagnosis, which I eventually became very proud of. It explained a lot, undermine where I was headed.
But what was that mission? Why was it such a burning desire? Like we were talking about in the beginning of this call, this burning desire. What is that? Yeah.
The part of it, I always wanted to be an inventor. Since about age 8 or 9, I always wanted to be like work in a think tank or become a philosopher. Hey Claudie, and I just wanted to prove to everybody that I saw it coming. That's what I think a patent does. It says to the world that I saw something so far in advance that I have the proof that shows that I did it.
Damn, that's beautiful. Wow.
You know what I mean? And so I always wanted that. I always wanted that for myself. And so I think it took a while for my career to get to that point. I was very fortunate to work in some R&D labs and eventually at a Fortune 50 that published the patents. And we're super proud of them. But that was my mission, was to become an entrepreneur. And actually the first stop out of the psychiatric ward was to the State Corporation Commission to file for an LLC. And so I was on it then.
What do you got, Brandon? What do you think?
No, I'm just listening. I'm listening to his story.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I don't want to bore you guys. If you got the time, that episode with Hunter Keegan on Bipolar Reporter, I get a lot more vivid on that one.
Yeah. Hey, but let's go over the time thing. So tell us more. Sure. What did you learn about time? So you're in the set this up. So you're thinking. So you were in a manic episode when you were writing that Time article.
Yeah, it was a manic episode, and it lasted for over a year.
Manic episodes can last for. I thought it's an episode. I thought it was like a few days.
Well, here's the thing: like it was stimulated, so it was induced. So every day I'm taking the medication. You see what I'm saying? So it wasn't just like a natural thing. That still happens to me today, where I'll get my mood will jump up, right? But at this time, it was induced by medication that I was being prescribed, and the doctor didn't believe us when I would tell him that I'm not acting, something's going on. He just said, I'm the doctor here, just need a higher dose. And so this was actually something that's part of the diagnostic and statistics manual for diagnosing people. That you can have SSRI induced mania, and that's one way to arrive at a bipolar diagnosis is if the mania is induced by the medicine. So yeah, what I learned about time ultimately, just the idea that time is elastic and time is relative, that research took me into the theory of relativity and things that I'm not qualified to really grok myself. I was a language major, a philosophy major, but I learned about duration, and that was one of my favorite topics. There's this book by a New York Times editor James Gleick called Faster,
Mm-hmm.
The Acceleration of Just About Everything. That book was really enlightening. I highly recommend it if this is interesting stuff to you. Another book by Robert Levine, the A Geography of Time, The Temporal
Mm-hmm.
Misadventures of a Social Psychologist. Those two books blew my mind. And that was at my level that I could really understand. But the latter really goes into different systems of time, the different cultures and civilizations have used, to figure out, to interpret cause and effect. And I settled on duration as a topic and event time. You're going to like this one, Bruno. Event time. We can't interpret anything but cause and effect, with our sense data.
Mm-hmm.
But event time is a way for us, that you see it in language show up quite a bit, to mark events. So like phrases like when the cows come home, or we'll eat, after this happens. You're describing a cause and an effect, and it marks an experience, or it marks a milestone or an event, in a conversation with something that's in context. And this is how the world used to work. You live in a village, you live in a tribe. You don't have necessarily a standardized time, but what you have are a series of rituals or routines, and you know what comes after one after the next. You know what the sequence is, and so eventually we ended up standardizing time so that we could create systems like railroads and so on. There's a lot written about this, and it became a global phenomenon, right? But it wasn't always the case. It was usually hyper local to specific people, and so the best way to market were with these rituals. And so anyway, event time became a way for people to align around these rituals, and so different places did it differently.
Yeah. Hey, but let me ask you something, Jeff. So why do I feel like I've been doing Vibe Sesh now? I did like 50 of them on X. That was kind of my training grounds, and now I've done your guest at number 5, right?
Thank you.
But yeah, but after every Vibe Sesh, like there's a common theme. Like we have a lot of introverts that come in, and we all feel rejuvenated, right? After a Vibe Sesh. Usually introverts feel exhausted, but I feel rejuvenated. I won't even be able to go to sleep well tonight because I'm so, but like the how I feel about time when I'm in this moment here, I feel like it expands.
Oh, I know what you mean. No, I get that.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
But why?
Why
Why do you think? Yeah.
Why is I mean, what the essay that I wrote, Feeling Time, ended up becoming approaching something that researchers published a paper on later. There's a good article called the Temporal Experience of Mania. I can't recite the article and I won't bore you with it. There's one line that I really love. And they said that in a manic episode, and maybe, you're a little bipolar. Everyone is a little bipolar. We all have this experience. It's whether or not it's disabling for you.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So there's degrees of this. And so, time does have a fluctuate for everybody, right? So anyway, in that article, in that paper, they say something like in a manic episode, the qualitative and quantitative dimensions of time collapse, and all you experience is the entire plane. And this is something that really, I really relate to, because if I'm, for example, if I have, I've got an example here. If I'm trying to explain something to you, and it's very complex, and it's something that I see that's new, it's novel to me, but I have to do it through my mouth. My mouth can only do one word after another, right? But if I show you something as if I want to explain something as complex as this, for example, the first time you've seen this painting, right? The first time you've ever seen that, explain it in a sentence. Explain it in a paragraph. It's next to impossible. This thing is breathtaking. It's overwhelming. And so if you think about a manic episode like this, if you see something when you're this elevated that is this complex, it's a pattern, it's a signal, it's something that's so fascinating that you can't possibly explain it without talking really fast to get it across the board. You can't explain it fast enough to get the words out even. Your brain's moving so quickly just to be able to hold it in your mind that in the idea that you could do it linearly is next to impossible. And so that quote from that paper basically says, you're on a plane, you're witnessing everything because there's no sense of time left. It's kind of like you can see the horizon in every direction. And that's kind of what it feels like for me. It may not be the case for everybody, but when I'm in that place, I see
no time. There's no time. There's no time then. No time in that place, you're saying.
It's less, it's just that I see it all at once. And for example, He has said he thinks he's bipolar. I don't know if he is or not,
Who?
or if he has a diagnosis, but Elon Musk talks about
Oh.
this. He mentioned it. And and then if you watch this person move in business, in industry, he's got like 8 businesses, but they all ladder up into a vision, a mission that he has, and a vision that he sees what's going to happen in the future. But it's all of those ingredients, all those components all at once. You can't do one business after the other and get us to Mars in your lifetime.
Hey, so what do you think, Elon Musk? Do you think he's bipolar or not? I mean, he had a tweet that said, I'm bipolar, but what do you
Yeah.
think? When you analyze his behavior and everything that he's done, you seem like you know him pretty well. So he's autistic?
I don't know.
No, I'm just saying, based on through your lens as the bipolarist is what I'm saying,
Well,
right?
what I would say is that I'm not a medical professional, and I am bipolar. That's my identity. I feel like that. I have bipolar disorder, but the professionals should be left to their business, like you, like yourself. But what I would say is that I have a lot of ideas, and the ideas never stop, and that's something that I know. I've read in his biography. I've heard him refer to this in the interviews too. It doesn't turn off. So I don't know if he has the same experience as me. How could I? But I know that I've got lots of business ideas, and I can't execute them fast enough. I'd love to be able to move like him, but I don't think I'm the only one. I think there's a lot of us that think in this nonlinear format.
Yeah. What do you think, Brandon?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I agree with what you guys were just saying now. I think like 3 things that are kind of sticking out to me on this discussion about time. Like, obviously there's a perception component to like how we perceive time, right? And like all of us can relate to maybe a job we really didn't like, and we get off at a certain time, and it's like you're looking at the clock and you're like, dude, it feels like an hour went by and it's only been 5 minutes. Like, come on now, right? And then like think about like maybe when you're having sex or playing catch with your kid, like time disappears and like you have no idea, like it disappears and like you
That's
have
a
no
great
idea.
word. I think
You're
Cisco
just in
said
the
it
moment, right?
too.
So there's this perception of time, but then also like also what we've been touching on is I really do believe that we can sense things with our 5 senses in this 3D space, right? But we know all the way down to Newtonian physics, like you can kind of measure the mass of electron is really, it's unquantifiable in a way, but you can calculate for it. But then like the wave particle theory, like it could be superposition. It could be like in 2 places at the same time, meaning it starts to break down, right? Newtonian physics breaks down below the electron level, right? And then it's all theory. So that leads me to believe like time isn't this construct that we've got up at this macro level, right? Like it's great for, like you were talking about, it's great for keeping like events, it's great for productivity, it's great for managing dates and like, hey, we're going to meet here at this time, and it's useful in that regard. But that's just like a small slice of, I think, what time actually is, right? I think there could be multiple times and multiple dimensions, right? And like the last thing I was talking about as far as time goes is like, and like we're talking about in this frame of bipolar, which is awesome. But I've also heard like, lately people have been coming out with this idea that ADHD or ADD is perhaps a superpower, just like bipolar, right? And so like the perception and like, so in the lens of like ADHD, because I don't have a lot of understanding or experience with bipolar, because I'm not sure if I am. I mean, maybe I am. Maybe that's one of my things. But I also have a son that's on the spectrum, and like, so like with somebody with ADHD, they can like hyper focus on something that they're interested in, but things they're not interested in, they have a hard time. And so like in this world of just trying to get a bunch of like little cogs in the wheel to like conform, that's a problem, right? And they got to medicate and to be on this time. But like it's a superpower in the sense that when these people find their thing, they'll do it better than anyone, right? And maybe that's Elon Musk. Maybe it's bipolar, maybe it's ADD, maybe it's somewhere on the spectrum of autism. I'm not sure. So I think it's really, really interesting in this concept of time. One last thing, I did go on a trip one time and we went backpacking into the wilderness for a week, and there was no cell service, right? And this was like a couple of years ago. We go every year with this group of guys, and we forgot to bring a watch, and we didn't know what time it was for a week.
Yeah.
And you know what was cool? It didn't matter. It didn't matter. It's like when the sun was up, it was time to chop wood. and eat and do all those things. And when the sun went down, it was time to go to bed.
That's all you
So
needed time for. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So it was really cool to be free of that. I had been free of that since the last time I could remember. So it was beautiful that we forgot to bring lunch. We just had to remember what day it was, so we knew what time to get out of the wilderness, right?
Right.
So
No,
anyway,
that
Amazing.
I think you nailed it,
yeah,
and that was something else in the book I was talking about, or in the research I did. Clock time is what we're talking about, and that's just a mnemonic
right.
for cause and effect and order, but it's not actually what the physical time is. And physical time, like you're talking about, is like space time. It's the fabric of the universe, and that's not something that you can
Right.
separate, one from the other. They're intertwined. So it's
Space
experiences.
time. Right.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
So, but the time is such a hard thing to talk about because it gets really complicated. But it's the fabric. And so, if you refer to time, are you referring to clock time? Are you referring to the moment? Are you referring to the it can go on
Space time.
forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Space time, deep time,
Yeah.
all astronaut.
Jeff.
It's like it goes on
Yeah.
forever.
Jeff, you were always like this, or what? What were you like younger, before the whole bipolar incident and before
Yeah, oh yeah.
breaking down? How were you? Were you seen? You felt seen? Do you feel different, or what? Or you were just a normal kid?
I don't think I was normal. I don't think I
Mm.
was normal. Yeah. I wouldn't say that. I think I had a lot
So
of
how
no.
were you? Yeah, how were you then? How
Yeah.
were you as a kid?
I wasn't. First off, I'm an only child, so I
Mm-hmm.
ended up spending a lot of time alone. That's a big one.
Mm.
That's a different experience than I think a lot of people have. But I do remember, and looking back, it's something I've done work on. It's like my parents got divorced when I was young, and spending a lot of time alone, and you end up your mood can sink. Your mood can sink.
Mm.
So it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't something that we were aware of then, but I think I was depressed for long periods. And so that the other
Mm.
reflection of this is like, well, when time slows down when you're depressed, and that's the other aspect of this, it's it speeds up when you're going, but your mood falls out. You end up losing your sense of time. Use time seems like it drags on forever, but it also gives you insane focus. It gives you an opportunity to meditate on something. I
Mm.
wasn't a philosopher. I wasn't like this brilliant mind then. I'm not some child prodigy. But being able to sit with an idea as much as you lament it, as much as agonizing it can be for long enough, that's a skill. That's a skill to build. It's a muscle. Maybe it makes me good at
Mm.
chess. Maybe it makes me good at, maybe that's an advantage, like you're saying, Brandon. But as a kid, I think I was always bright. I think I
Mm.
was always
Mm-hmm.
bright.
Mm-hmm.
I went to GT programs and magnet schools, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's distinct. But I also had a huge advantage. I grew up very comfortably. My family was of means, and I got on the internet very early, and that's
Mm-hmm.
another thing. It's disorienting with time. It's like, like we talk about it now with social media and like bite-sized clips and messing up our memory and so on. But having the expansive universe of the internet accessible to you at a young age before anyone else had it gave me a tremendous advantage in my career. And in school even. I was online since like 1990, I don't know, four or something like that, 4 or 5.
Damn. Wow.
And so
Online
most
since 1994. Wow. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
me too, actually. 1994 was my
but
first email. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah. So back then I was like hacking AOL accounts and you
Damn.
know
Why are you
that's
doing
what
that? Why are you hacking AOL accounts? For
we
what?
used to try to get the usernames that were
It's
lowercase. That was our
fun.
big
It's
thing.
fun.
What
Yeah,
is
it's
Sometimes you
fun
got
fun.
to
about
break
that,
some.
bro?
Well, sometimes you got to break something to understand how it works. I understand
Oh,
that.
you're a white hat hacker, or what they're called, white hat hackers or something? The nice guys?
Or
I
gray,
think I
white
think
or
you could
gray
say
hat.
I was a script kiddie. That's what you would call me,
Script
or a
kitty.
vibe
Yeah,
coder
yeah.
now. But
Yeah,
War
script kiddie.
but
driver,
it was
packet
really cool.
sniffer.
Packet
Yeah,
sniffer.
exactly. No,
Yeah, he knows what I'm
Uh,
talking about.
I
you know
know.
that? I know. Oh man. Hey, so Jeff, so let's talk about, because one interesting thing during our calls together that you
Yeah,
said that really stuck with me, and I wanted you to go over this through, because it's very interesting, your lived experience, and I told you that it would be very interesting to go through your stuff. But one thing that really stood out to me, you said to me, yeah, like I go through this episodes, and I miss it. I miss it. I want to get back there, right? Didn't you say
Sure.
it had this seductive quality, addictive quality? Tell me more about that. Why do you want to go back in the
Sure.
manic? Yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe a good way to do. Happy to answer, and a good way to do this would be to give you a rubric. This is something I give to people that are around me, people on my care team, my family, my friends. They know. Uh,
Mm.
I have a rating system for my moods.
Mm.
So it goes from 3 to -3, and I say, 0 would be even, or a range in there. Around zero point 0.5 to -0.5 is about what I would call even. I think most people experience that. Mine has a little bit more range. I get, one, 1.5 to -1.5 or so. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I talk about having a hypomanic, which comes before mania, so even, hypomanic, mania. When I
Mm-hmm.
talk about getting to mania and how it's, like I told you, it's seductive. You really want to stay there. That's like the range above 1.5 is where I'm in manic episode. And I know at that time that I need to go seek, talk to my doctors, make an appointment. I need to go to sleep. I need to eat a
You need to
heavy
go to
meal.
sleep. Mm-hmm.
Those
Mm-hmm.
things slow me down, get me out of my brain and back into my body.
Got
So,
to
but
get back in the body. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to answer your question, it is seductive. You end up, you see things. I do. That's
Mm-hmm.
my experience. You see things that are not obvious to others or interesting either to them, but that some things become so intense. It's kind of like the movie A Beautiful Mind, and you've seen
Mm-hmm.
this in other movies too. When, like, um, another word for it is Erland syndrome, I think too. But symbols, letters, that sort of thing start to float. Maybe it's not the symbols or the letters, but the ideas are more intense. I can look at something and find signal from noise that is not obvious to other people. In fact, in my career, it's happened quite a bit where I'll say something random, listening to everyone in the meeting, and I'll say something that seems like it's from left field, and someone will just be like, "Wait, say that again," and like, that's a skill. It's a muscle you build.
Damn.
And it's not
Uh-huh.
just me. I'm not saying anyone can do this too, but there's something about when you're in mania, when you're really elevated, you get so fascinated by things and you start to make connections that aren't obvious to other people. That's a trend. That's consistent for me.
Hey, so give me an example of that where you saw it before a lot of people. Give me an
Oh,
example. Give me an
oh
example.
man, dude. This one's funny because I had this idea in the hospital we talked about in 2003. I was ranting maniac. I was trying to get everyone to go get this poster from my college dorm or my apartment, so that I could explain this idea that I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't, get the idea across coherently. The idea was an idea for space travel.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I was a philosophy major then. I didn't take trigonometry, so I don't know what I'm talking about. That's
Mm-hmm.
the understand. I'm not a physicist,
Okay.
uh,
We got it.
but I had this idea for space travel, and it wasn't something that I could articulate, but I know what it was based on. Was this little toy that my dad got me once, called an X Xylo, and it's like this tube that you throw. It's a plastic tube, and it
Mm-hmm.
creates this vortex in the middle of it. And the vortex is just the air that's passing through it. It's made out of Lexan. You chuck it, and it goes a couple hundred yards, or 100 feet. And so I was obsessed with this toy as a kid. But I always wondered, could you blow this thing up into, astronomical proportions? What happens if you put one of these things into space? I'm giving away a patent right now, so I hope anyone, I hope someone makes good use of this. But I had this idea in 2003. I couldn't figure out how to articulate it until 2024. And it's a matter of getting back to where I was. So you talked about, is it manic mania seductive? Sometimes you see things when you're in that place that are almost inaccessible to you until you get back. And that's part of it. You long for that idea. There was something there that you saw, or that
But
captured your attention.
is this like that for all bipolars?
I can speak for
Exactly.
everybody, but I can say that there are symptoms that are described in the literature that line up with this, and so are some of the depictions in the media are like this too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Hey, but Jeff, like, how did you have this kind of attitude that you're trying to help others to have your kind of attitude, right? Like in terms of
Oh,
this is my identity, etc.
yeah.
And you said even in college, you were like, hey, I got to live my life. I got to finish college. I got to build a business. Bro, that
Yeah.
is not normal. So, like, I don't know if that's teachable or something in you already
Oh,
had
yeah.
it. You know what I'm saying?
I
So, what do you think about that? Yeah.
I think there's a couple things I think that made me this way. I told you about the story, that context, but um, I got to credit my mother. My mother has got she's
Mm.
a machine. She's a shrewd businesswoman, extremely effective person and executive, and she taught me how to feel confidence, and she taught me and she encouraged me to that I had some gifts and how to express them. So
Mm.
big up to Elvita. But
La
I think,
Vida in the house.
and growing up in an entrepreneurial family, you some of that gets passed down. My
Damn.
stepfather owned a heating and air conditioning company for 42 years,
Yeah.
and
Tell him the great marketing strategy. Tell him the great marketing strategy. So, what did he do?
oh, what did he do?
Yeah.
I
To
mean, he just
the
to blow.
marketing. Didn't you tell me like he used to put the seal on
Oh
everything?
God, dude, that's that idea. Oh man. So this my stepfather had this
Bro, this
idea
is the
for
Vibe Samurai, bro. Where do you think you are right now? This is Vibe Sesh, man. I'm
yeah,
gonna
man.
remember stuff like that. That's amazing. Tell him the story.
I mean, he taught me what a patent was, my stepfather, and so he showed me what he had trademarked and said that's a type of intellectual property. That's how he explained it to me. He made this sticker. So he made this sticker that put it on the equipment in everyone's mechanical closet. Whenever they replaced a furnace or an air handler or a heat pump, they put a sticker on the machine. And this sticker was a Band-Aid. The Band-Aid was had the number of the company to call. And these stickers are all over the DC area. They're everywhere. This dude built an empire. I mean, tens of thousands of homes and basements and crawl spaces and attics that I eventually had to go into when I worked for the company have this damn sticker on them. And what's funny is my neighbor actually, she had, I was telling her that I found this Band-Aid. I found this thing that he trademarked. And I was showing it to her, and she had a friend over who was selling HVAC equipment. He's in the field too. He worked for someone that worked for my stepfather, and he was like, "Dude, that was your dad? I pull those things off
Your
of
dad is
furnaces all the
finished.
time." So yeah, that Band-Aid went a long way, man. I bet you can still find them all over this. I mean, they were just everywhere. But
Damn.
it was a way to brand himself, always be closing. He was a very, very good business person, my stepfather, and he was a good provider too. So
Mm.
I was lucky. I think the confidence came from
Mm.
just being, he was my stepfather was self-made and an extremely hard work ethic, and the two of them were a
Mm.
power couple.
Hey, so
So
you just had a strong family structure then. So
I
right,
really,
very.
I really did. I was lucky too, and I have a lot of, there are a lot of business owners, whole variety of careers in my family. My mother had 10 brothers and sisters, so they all do different stuff.
Right, right.
All sorts of
So you
stuff.
want to provide that to the whole bipolar community. What
Well, it's
they
part.
showed you, no? Like because they
I think,
understood you, they supported you, no? Like and
yeah.
they're listening to your rating system, which is amazing. Hey guys, I'm on a +2. You announce that to everybody? Like you WhatsApp people and you say, I'm at a
Oh
+2 in
no,
term.
that'd
No,
probably
oh
be.
you don't.
I
Oh
wouldn't do
no?
that. I wouldn't. No, but I would.
Ah,
If anyone has a
I don't
question
know.
that knows me, if they're worried about me, hey, you seem a little off, where's your number today? That's how they use
They
that.
oh, wow.
Yeah,
That is so supportive, man. That is
yeah.
so supportive.
If I could
Yeah.
give anything to people who are listening in, people that love someone with bipolar or they are themselves. I mean, I think it's just that understand that you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. We have technology for this. We have medicine. We have treatment. There are ways that you can get stable, and ultimately, you need to because you're as like we say, you're touched with fire. You're lucky to have figured this thing out about your brain, and the opportunity that you have is to get well so that you can provide your genius and your ideas to the world. And I mean, I would love for people to stay. Not everyone does. Not everyone stays, and it's a big challenge in this community. People with this condition, there's a high rate of suicide, and
Yeah.
it's a sad thing because everyone misses out on what people are seeing. Everyone misses out on what those gifts could be.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
I
So
think
think
that
that's
we
what.
understand.
That's all
I think.
I would want is if I can find some way to ground this for people so it doesn't feel like it's the end of their world or they're so embarrassed or ashamed to have this diagnosis. I mean, I
Mhm.
think that's the one thing it would be. Just stay, show us what you see.
Hey, I think this is great. I like how we've shifted this back to all the other people too, because there's so many people that
Mhm.
are listening, people that this will hopefully potentially reach through the podcast or other things. And thank you for talking about this. And I think, and maybe you agree, I think like what's missing is like community, right? Because okay,
Mm.
so like the only thing that like most of us have heard of is, okay, there's these like pathology, there's these
Mhm.
diagnoses, and then we just medicate them, right? And it's
Mhm.
like, okay, on one hand, I'm not anti-medication. Like if somebody is going into a place of really deep self-harm, then medications can save lives. Like I'll say that. But on the other hand, and I've been one of these people, when I was younger, I was diagnosed with things. I've been on medications, and I have a lot of friends. I seem to gravitate towards people on the spectrum. I've had people that have been full like schizophrenia. I've had a lot of friends that have had a lot of things. I like neurodiversity. I find people like that interesting. And one of the
Mm.
common threads that I see with a lot of these people, including myself to some degree, is when they go on these medications, maybe that helps from the self harm, but it also kind of like dulls the fire, right? And then eventually these people kind of get off the medication, they stop taking the meds because they don't like that subdued feeling, right? And then,
Mm.
but it's like, how can we help these people live with it a little bit better in a range, maybe? Like if you get to self harm, maybe you need medication, but maybe this is a community thing, right? Maybe
Hmm.
this is more normalizing it and creating a community aspect, because I
Mm.
really do, like you said, man, these people are touched by fire. And like we were talking earlier, like I think like somebody like Elon Musk, love him, hate him, don't care either way, he's somebody that could have been gotten a hold of and said, hey man, you got all this pathology, you've got all these problems, we need to medicate you. And then, SpaceX wouldn't exist, right? Tesla would not exist, right? All these things. And so I think a lot of these people are touched by fire and they have superpowers. And so, how do we help them
Mhm.
really realize that and shift into a focused productivity to really use their superpower and live that amazing life and manage it? What do you think? Is it community? Do we need more community?
I think that's one aspect of it, and it's a big one for me too. I'm a peer support. I do connect with this community called the Bipolar Social Club. It was started by the
Hell
co-founder
yeah.
Kaya. That place is amazing. So look it up on Google Groups. And community is a big part of it. I mean, depression. There's this guy Johan, I think Hari. He has a TED talk about this, where like addiction is disconnection, and depression is where is disconnection. And community is a way that you can solve some of these challenges. But what I would push back on though is it's a bit of a leap to assume that he got on medication. If Elon were to have been medicated, if he were pathologized as a kid, that we wouldn't have these businesses. What I would say is that um, medication isn't the only answer, but it has been extremely effective for a lot of people. And
Mm,
you always want to figure out how to get on the lowest therapeutic dose of whatever you're taking, so that it isn't
right.
something that's going to hold you back. And there are side effects, but the reality is that, at least in my experience, I mean, I'm very grateful for the medicine. I still fluctuate. It still happens, and
Yeah.
I still get challenged with seasonal depression or what have you. That's a big
Mhm.
one for me. And I get impulsive. I have focus problems sometimes. ADHD is a part of this condition, but without the
Mhm.
medication, I wouldn't be able to work. And so I
Let me
depend
ask
on it.
you. So, do you relate to this? Because I certainly do, and maybe some of the people in this audience that are also have some of these things that we're touching on here. The community thing would be great because, like, it, do you find yourself like sometimes not being fun at parties to where like you have all these ideas, right? Everybody's like, "Hey, why are you so quiet? What are you thinking about?" And it's like, do I tell them? And then when you start talking, they're just like, I don't even know what you're talking about, right? Where it can be very isolating. And so if there's a community of
Mm.
other people that can maybe get to that higher level, like a
Vibe
lot of times
sesh. Vibe
I don't
sesh,
even
bro.
bother talking to people because they just want to talk about really low level stuff. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. It's not very fun. It's not very stimulating. I'm like, like, you know, I'm trying to create software, I'm trying to solve problems, I'm trying to like do all these things all the time. And so people ask me like, hey, what are you thinking about? I'm like, nah, I don't think I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Do you ever,
You learn.
do you relate to that?
I 100% relate to it. There's yeah, and that's what I love, dude. You know, that's another thing. Gift of the internet. You can find your people. You can find your tribe. You
Yeah.
know,
This
plug
is the
in.
Right.
Tribe Vibe Sesh. How are you feeling so far, Jeff? This
I'm
whole
loving
vibe.
it.
What? Do
Dude. I'm loving it. I feel like I'm in good company. I feel like y'all get it. Y'all get me. And
Yeah.
again, like it's a gift. But the Bipolar Social Club is a whole bunch of heads like that. It's a whole bunch of them. And so I really, if you're
Do you guys
like
get
this,
together like this? Do you get together like this? It must be a
we
good time. Mm-hmm.
I think they do, and there's a high concentration of them in Boston. So I think they get together there. But haven't done anything global yet. And the Bipolar Support Club on Clubhouse did. They had there are conventions. Maybe that's a good idea for a conference, Icarus Conf. But yeah, community is a big part of it. Finding your people so that you feel understood is a huge aspect of mental health. And
Jeff, tell everybody about Icarus because you mentioned it again. You like this Icarus story, brother. You
dude, the
love
Icarus
this
story.
Icarus story. Tell the Icarus story. Mm-hmm.
I feel like honestly, I feel like the Icarus story, this legend about this boy that flew too close to the sun and whose wax wings melted. I think we misunderstand it because the reality is we're talking about a boy who flew.
A
This
boy
boy
who flew.
dude, someone flew. Imagine ancient Greece. You know, if you don't know the story, I'll try to paraphrase if I can. It's like
No, don't paraphrase. Tell us the whole story.
oh God, if I'm not, dude. One more thing. I'm not a Greek, mythologist here. But what I can say is that this man who was the king's inventor, Daedalus, he, as I recall, he designed a mechanical bull. I feel like to terrorize the city or something like this. And the king, and he got up on himself. You know, he's a smart dude. He got a little overconfident, and the king didn't like it. So he ended up locking him up in this labyrinth that he built to trap it. He locked Daedalus and his son Icarus up in this thing as like to cast them away. And so Daedalus, being the innovative and genius man that he was, found a way to escape the prison, escape the complex by climbing this tower and making wings out of bird feathers that they found and wax, I guess, from candles and built wings for them to fly off of the tower. And the story goes that Icarus, having been cautioned by his father, didn't listen to him when his father told him, "Careful not to fly too high, or else your wings will melt by the sun ray, from the sun, and careful not to fly too low, or you'll crash into the ocean." And it's supposed to be a story to help you understand the middle way, which is another philosophy, Eastern philosophy, right? Like the moderation, everything in moderation. That's supposed to, and that's what we remember from it. But the way they tell it is that Icarus flew too close to the sun. He got overconfident. He got maybe cocky. The hubris of adolescence perhaps played a role. But imagine if you're watching this man fly across the sky. Imagine you're one of the plebeians and you're just a person in the city, and you see these wings and you see this person, this massive figure, fly across the sky. We're still telling this story today. We're still telling this story, and it's a myth, or it's a legend, maybe, right? But this happened in this story. We still tell it. And the thing we extract from that story is that he flew too close to the sun. Fuck that shit. This kid flew. That's what happened. That's what happens in the story. And how inspiring is it to think that someone was able to achieve something like that? Human flight. It's something we all aspire to. Maybe it didn't happen in real life, but the moral of the story to me is different.
What is the moral? And how does that connect to the bipolarist?
Well, people use the Icarus metaphor quite often, and a lot of us identify with it because of the variety of experience, the perspective that changes, the peak and the pit of mood. But the moral of the story that most extract is that don't fly too close, the middle way. The middle way. Take everything in moderation. But for me, it's honestly, it's fly as high as you can. Life is short. Achieve at your fullest potential and achieve the arc of your being, because you might leave something behind that will inspire others for millennia. You might leave a story, a movie, a script, a patent, a brand, anything. You might leave something behind that when you're gone, and you don't know when, will outlive you, and wouldn't it be nice to be legendary, right? So that's how I think of it. It's like, just go, do it, and so if I could give anything else to anybody else, it's just have the self-confidence and have the trust in yourself. And that's, I mean, it can be challenging with everyone whispering that you're not well, or that the doctor's telling you and then being experts about who you should be and otherwise, but there's something inside of you that you can listen to, and draw that out.
What do you think, Brandon?
Yeah, 100%. I think, yeah, I think there's a lot of people that are not represented in society. I think there's a lot of people that kind of fit in that bell curve of old style Prussian education, where you sit down and you listen, you get direction, you put all this stuff in your head and you regurgitate it and you pass the test, you go to the thing and you work your way up the ladder and you be a good little employee. I think that works well for a good chunk, but there's people on both sides of that it doesn't really serve them, and then they just get over medicated and they get pathologized, and whether they find their way or not, it's kind of a crapshoot. But like the communities like this and the things that we're talking about and the work that you're doing and that we're doing, I think helps a long way to go with that. We can't rely on government structures. We got to build this from the ground up, from the people. And so I love this.
100%. I mean, and one of the things that's so helpful now, and it's a difference between how it used to work with mental health and psychiatry, is the peer support model, that you can find a mentor, kind of like they have in some of the anonymous programs. You can find someone whose story resonates with yours, and mine's not going to resonate with everybody else's. It's like 3% of humans have this thing about them that you could get diagnosed as bipolar in America and worldwide. It's roughly 3%, and 1.6, I think it is, in America that experience mania. That's not everybody. That's like, what is it, like 6 million people, something like this? So, right? Yeah, roughly. Yeah. So, it's not a lot. It's not everybody. And so even if you have to find someone who resonates with yours, and you can find a tribe of those people that are like you, that do experience the same things. And that's one of the gifts of the peer support model, which I actually, I really have benefited from tremendously. And I also do. I also enjoy being a peer support to other people. We do this on Sundays with the Bipolar Social Club. We do a Zoom that people can tune into at 11 Eastern. And it's a real gift to me to be able to listen to other people's stories and, share tools, share techniques, things that work for us, and check in on each other. Because, man,
Where do you do this? Tell us when this happens.
Yeah, so you can. I should put a link on my website. And if you go to bipolarsocialclub.org.
Okay.
It's a Google group that it's linked to from there. It's you have to request to be added, but we have a calendar there as well that you'll get access to.
How often do you do it?
Every week on Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern.
Wow, you've been doing this for how long? How long have you been doing
it's been going on with them for 2 years. I just joined last year.
Wow. Okay, you joined last year.
Yeah.
Man, isn't it powerful, the ability to do this over technology like this? What are you thinking, man? Yeah.
It's a gift. It's an absolute gift. It's easy to say and dismiss social media as being, all the things they say.
Yeah,
but to be able to connect with each other, there's nuance to it, man. There's nuance to it,
To everything, yeah.
No, I appreciate it tremendously. I think it's an opportunity for people to get one way to get access to healthcare, or self-care, is by seeking connection, like you're talking about, Brandon. So.
Yeah. One quick thing too. Oh yeah, one quick thing is this thing will probably abruptly end in like 3 minutes or so. Okay. So if that happens, you didn't get kicked out. Instagram just decided that 1 hour is all we get.
Word.
But we're gonna just restart it and then join us. All right.
All right, I'll pop back in.
Yeah, pop back in.
Yeah, it'll happen in a couple minutes here.
Yeah. Now you're used to it, huh, Brandon? You're giving the warning now.
Well, I'm trying, because people are like, did I get kicked out? Like, what happened? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Complaints. Yeah. Hey, but Jeff, let's move on to the stigma and the mission. So what are you trying to build with Bipolarist? Why does the label matter? The identity first language Bipolarist, you call yourself. So what do you think? Yeah.
I mean, uh, in the disability space, there's these two concepts, two ways to talk about having a disability. You could say that you're a person with a disability or you're a disabled person, and it translates also to people, with a diagnosis. You could say you're autistic, or you have autism spectrum disorder. You could say you're on the spectrum. Another way of saying it. You could say you're on the bipolar spectrum. You could say I have bipolar disorder. You could say what I say, I am bipolar. Both are true. They mean slightly different things, but both are true. And it's up to the person who has the condition to see what they identify with. But for me, I am bipolar. I mean, bipolar itself, it describes an identity, a lived experience. Bipolar disorder describes a diagnosis.
Yes.
No one gets diagnosed bipolar. They get diagnosed with bipolar disorder, usually one or two. And there's a distinction there because,
No, I love that. Oh my God. Yeah.
in one way, it's the vocabulary of the professionals, and that's their realm, but your experience with this is very subjective. Of course, it's your personal experience. And so I don't know, my entire adult life, I've embraced this, I don't know otherwise. And people get diagnosed even younger. But if this is something that I do every day, I've got my pill case, I drink my water, I've got my routines, I've got my mood chart like I told you about. And these are things that I always have to keep mindful in order to stay present, be a good dad, be able to work and be able to be productive. All of those things I have to do. I mean, that occupies a lot of time.
Man, that must. I mean, you have kids too. I mean, I can't even imagine what's that like. How much you have to be present, and you're like need to figure out where you're at, and have your drugs and everything.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, and I'm lucky to have a wonderful co-parent. We're divorced, but my son lives with her and his half sister, and I'm grateful to have I'm lucky to have the space and the support of my co-parent to be able to make sure that I'm well enough to have my son. That's for sure. But it is something that it's given me, vocabulary. It's given me technology to support my son too, to help him understand when he's having big feelings, to help him understand when he's feeling urgency, a sense of urgency, and so I can explain some of those things to him, and he's only 10 years old, and it's a gift. This lived experience that I've
talking about, Jeff, and I relate to that a lot, like with my son. So my son is diagnosed autistic, and like it's interesting, like how he likes to be referred to, right? Like there's certain things that he finds offensive. There's certain things he's like, yeah, you can say I have autism, or you can say I'm autistic. He doesn't like it if I say, yeah, you got the tism, Like sometimes we joke around with each other. He says it, but he doesn't like it if I tell him that. There's a lot of nuance there. And I certainly, and like, I love him. Like, I love him for his autism, right? And so like, if I heard somebody say it like it was a disorder, I would be really off put on that. I'd be like, you don't know my kid. And I'm very fortunate. He's not like a nonverbal autism person on the spectrum. Like that is a thing, and I think that would be a lot harder for them, because there's, on one hand, you want your kiddo to be able to have good social relationships and all this stuff and be successful and whatever. And so I do struggle with some of the things sometimes when I see it getting in the way of maybe his communication, but he's like really high functioning. He's really, but yeah, it's interesting. And so I like how you made those distinctions,
Yeah, it's person first language. I have bipolar disorder. I have autism spectrum disorder, or I have autism, or identity first language. And so, it can go either way. And in 2016, I registered this domain name Bipolarist, thinking, I'd had enough of dealing with the stigma interpersonally and at work. And I was just going to pivot into advocacy. And so I registered this domain. I I didn't do anything with it for like almost a decade, and now it's lit. But I realized there isn't like the autism community, they call themselves like auties or autists, and that there wasn't one for bipolar disorder that specifically that made it that sort of a noun. This is really interesting, actually. Bruno, you might know about this guy, Christopher Small, who wrote the essay Musicking.
No. Tell us about it.
All right. So music used to be a verb.
Music used to be a verb.
Yeah,
To music. To music. Okay.
exactly.
What? It wasn't just
Yeah,
a noun. It was a verb to music. Okay. Okay.
it was
Continue.
a verb. And so music used to be call and response, or still can be in live music scenarios, right? It came about through ritual, and like the audience is part of the experience. This is what Christopher Small talks about. Well, music got sort of bastardized because of studio music recordings. You know,
Mm.
you don't have
Hmm.
an interaction with the musician when you're listening to a CD, or let's see, an MP3, or like streaming audio. And so musicking was his way of expressing that music was a verb. Well, similarly, when you have to use language of the oppressor, or I have a bipolar disorder. Here's my diagnosis. It's different than when you say that you're bipolar. And in my essay, I talk about this. I live bipolar, or I have bipolar. I am bipolar. I live bipolar. This is an experience that I have that is not that I don't want to pathologize, but it's
Mm.
distinct. It may be able to be described in the medical terminology, but there's something different that's happening to me. So and I value it. I'm not ashamed of it, and I wouldn't want to live otherwise. I
Hmm.
appreciate the perspective that I have.
Hmm.
I'm grateful for it.
What about the victim mentality that you see a lot with
Mm-hmm.
neurodivergent people? Like I have a guy who's neurodivergent and he's a great guy,
Mm-hmm.
but he's very positive. And he was
Yeah.
like attacked by his own community, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's very common. And he would show me some comments and
Yeah.
different things that happen. It's brutal. It's brutal. So you're fighting against that too, no?
I
I
mean, yeah,
think,
I
yeah.
had this whole talk. I gave the bipolarist is pro stigma. It was well received in the audience that I had, and I was basically talking about like we need to own the stigma. We need to own the label, and
Hmm.
and it needs to be our handwriting on it. We need to be the ones that tell the story instead of being told what the stigma is and having it applied to us when we don't really live that way, when we're not, toxic, violent, unreliable, inconsistent, or at least those things have other aspects that are actually beneficial or interesting about us, not the violence. But the idea that you can have this variety of experience and then also be described in the medical terminology as
Mm.
symptomatic and pathologized, like you were saying, Brandon, is like it can be very like limiting. And so
Mm.
I had the same sort of experience that you're describing in this community of neurodivergence on Facebook. They were very non-inclusive.
Mm.
They weren't for a long time. You couldn't get people to accept that bipolar was also on the neurodiversity spectrum. For a while there, it was like,
Oh.
who do you think you are? You weren't born this way. And it's like, as a matter of fact, I've always been this way. I don't know otherwise. So it can be,
Wow, there's this thing between the communities. That's
yeah, But
wild.
eventually, we all came
Wild.
around, and now you see
Yeah.
it. You see it described as the spectrum, and everyone does understand that everyone's on the spectrum. It's a spectrum.
Mm. Mm.
It's a
Mm.
spectrum. Everyone's
Hmm.
on it. So you find your place on it, and you find your people, and you get to figure out what that's about for you.
Mm. Mm. Hey, but let me ask you something. So, what's the most damaging lie that gets told about bipolar people? What's the most damaging lie that gets told about bipolar people?
I think the one that we tell ourselves. I think the one that you tell yourself when you say that you're sick, that you're broken, that you're when you feel guilty for showing
Mm.
up in less than ways that you could. I think that's the lie, the biggest one. And I think that's when you start to internalize the stigma and you let the label that other people have apply to you. That's the
Mm.
lie. That's the worst
To
one.
yourself. To
To
yourself.
yourself. And that's what I was trying to get at with that talk. It's like, look, it's our story. We should be the ones telling it.
Mm. Oh, I love this. I love this.
It shouldn't be what the media says about he had a history of mental illness. Well, I
Mm.
stand on my business. I stand on it,
Mm.
and it's like I get to
Yeah.
decide what I do with my life, what living healthy means for me, and taking
Mm.
it
Mm.
seriously is something that enables me to
Mm.
get a lot further.
But
So
Jeff, this applies to everybody, right?
it
Like what
does
you were.
apply to everybody. Everyone has mental health. Everyone needs mental health care and self care, and it needs to be something that we all adopt and internalize. It's not just people with diagnoses. It's not that way. It's part of life. So, it's a spectrum. It's a spectrum of mental health too, and everyone goes from, from 0 to 100 on that spectrum. Everyone experiences pits and valleys, or pits and peaks. As my neighbor Rosie, I think she was here. She likes to say it's not unique. It's not unique to people with diagnoses. And so, sometimes we don't like it in the bipolar community when someone says, "Oh, I'm a little bipolar too." They are.
No, you don't like that, or they
No,
don't
people
like
get
it.
triggered. People get upset about that. People
If
get
you say I'm
upset
a
about
little bipolar, I think I'm a little bipolar. If they,
yeah, because usually what's happening is they're trying. People, when they say that to you, you tell them that you have bipolar, or you have bipolar disorder, or whatever, and then they try to relate to you, and they say, "Oh, I'm a little bipolar too."
oh,
You know.
that's not good. That's not
It-
good. Okay,
well, the idea is like it sort of it undermines the experience that some people have had, where you've been through
right, right,
hospitalizations, you've been chased in the streets, you've been
right.
told that you're behaving erratically and had the consequences
Right,
of all that
right.
applied to
And
you.
then you say, I think I have a little bipolar. Right.
Oh,
And some,
really? Really, you do? Did any of this shit
It'd be
happen to
like
you?
me saying I'm a little bit black or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I could relate. Yeah,
I'm down.
yeah.
So
wow. Hey, Jeff, why do you think so many creatives are bipolar? Is the mania the fuel, you think, for these
Hey,
guys?
Cisco.
I don't know. I don't know if it's the mania, but what I can say, it seems to me like there's an outsized contribution from people with brains brains and behavior like this across history. I mean, you've got. I don't need to spout off the names. It's something that we all know, but you've got some heavy hitters across history that have had this
But
diagnosis.
it's concentrated in the creatives, though, no? Concentration, like music, art, you know.
I mean,
The,
you have to think about confirmation bias. That's a factor here too. What we can say is that there are exceptional people. It seems to be an inordinate amount of exceptional people that walk this way. That's what we can say. It seems to be a very high concentration of people that are known for their creative pursuits or known for their achievements in the field of the arts or design or innovation that might walk this way. So I think that's one way to frame it. But it does seem like to me, maybe there should be bipolar hiring events. Just saying, just saying.
they
If
don't
you
have
guys,
that? They don't have that
they
at
barely
all?
have autism hiring events. We all. Am I right, Brandon? Like it's out there,
Yeah,
but
I
it's
was
not
just trying
everywhere.
to.
Brandon, no.
I was just thinking of for some reason my brain went to DEF CON. I don't know if you guys have ever been to DEF CON, but DEF CON is like it's like probably the biggest hacker events, and it goes on in Las Vegas every year, usually in August. And
Okay.
I've had the pleasure of going to a few of them because some of my friends have presented there, all
Uh-huh.
on the spectrum. And it's kind of funny because like government alphabet agencies will go there to hire like the CIA, the NSA, the FBI. Like they want these people on their team. You know what I mean? White hats,
Wow.
gray
So
hats,
the FBI,
black hats.
really? Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
it's mostly like ADHD, bipolar, autism, like tons of spectrum people, and the agencies are going there because these are the most brilliant people in the world. They're like they can do whatever they want. They can own any network. At
Well,
DEF CON, right?
the DEF CON people, I mean, the CIA and everybody understands this, Jeff. So why is
Oh
this
yeah,
so
they do. I
hard?
mean, if
Why
you're
is
good
this so
enough
hard?
to
Yeah.
break our system, then we want you to work for us. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
So
Right.
isn't this
Yeah.
your job easier? Because one of your missions, Jeff, is to make bipolar more whatever acceptable to corporate world, right? Tell us more
I
about that mission part.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'd love for that to be the case everywhere, Brandon. It's cool to know that they're doing it.
Right.
The conference and the convention I might have to attend too. I
Yeah,
remember
it's
reading
cool. You'll like
2600
it.
or all that stuff. I remember wanting to be a part of the club. I might have to make
Yeah.
it to DEF CON. But what I can say is that I have experienced it otherwise. I always check the box when
Yeah.
I get hired that I'm disabled. I want that to be counted. I want people to know, and people that come after me to benefit from the fact that I'm representing the tribe in the company. But it's not always easy to get the respect or the support that you need when you're disabled and you're working in corporate America. That's what I can say. So it is the case that, like you're saying, there's a lot of high achievers. There's a lot of exceptional talent in the the neurodivergent community, and there's a really good depiction of this in Homeland. If you've seen that show, Claire Danes'
Mm.
character has bipolar. She works for Homeland Security, and man, she does an incredible job showing almost almost exactly what I've experienced. Not in
I
like the,
forgot. I forgot that show. She was
yeah.
bipolar. She was bi. You thought that
To
was
me,
an
that's the
accurate depiction? That was an accurate depiction?
so accurate. She does
Holy
such a good
shit.
job. Yeah,
Wow.
man, she does an incredible job. And so there's a scene where you see, and this is a sort of a trope you see a lot in movies and shows. Even Always Sunny in Philadelphia has a gif where Charlie's talking like really intense and manic, and he's got
Uh-huh.
behind him maps and lines and
Yeah,
words
the line.
drawn and strings. And there's that
Yeah,
episode in
yeah.
in Homeland where she's done the same thing. But what that really is depicting is that someone's found signal from noise. They found a pattern, like John Nash
Mm.
in The Beautiful Mind, and the letters floating, and making the formula and the equations, and like your friends Brandon at DEF CON, like we're sourcing something, we're sourcing some truth or meaning where other people don't see it often, or at least it hasn't been seen yet. And
Mm.
that's part of the, I mean, that's part of the gifts of having a brain that does this sometimes. You're
Mhm.
tuned in to way too much. It happens with people with ADHD. I have the experience where you're overstimulated easily by all the sound, all the noise, all the light, and all the conversation. But sometimes you hear something that someone else doesn't, you know, and sometimes I say something that no one else will.
Mm.
And so wouldn't you want to have someone to say that in the office?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want to have someone that sees what everyone else seems to leave off, like what that character does in
But
Homeland?
but Jeff, so why you would think corporate America, they're profit driven. So if this was truly profitable for them, they would hire them, right? So I'm pushing back. Like, so why do we not see that? The CIA saw it.
They do, but they just don't know that these people have these disorders. They suspect that that guy's really weird, Well,
Ah,
why is he weird?
right.
That's
Okay,
what,
he's making us money though, so we'll keep him around like that, right?
He's weird, but
yeah.
we let him do whatever he wants because, he's
When you
brilliant.
work in an
Yeah.
agency, yeah, and I've been lucky to work. I've worked for a DARPA contractor. I've been lucky to work with some of those types of groups. But when you work in an agency, it's a little bit different. When you have some more space, but when you're at a lower level, when you come in through the front door and you
Yeah.
disclose, it's different. It's very different.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've yet to see something that says we want bipolar people in our company.
Well,
What they
you're
might
right
say is they
because
want.
no, because a lot of times you'll be in a position, like you said, if you come in the front door and you're at the low level, your manager, your first boss, will get really threatened by you, right? And might cause trouble for you, might keep you down, might get you out of there, right? So it's hard to rise up through the ranks in that system with all these midwit
Wow.
managers. Yeah.
Brandon,
That's
why are you so sensitive to this? Like, how do you know all this? You're not bipolar. Are you neurodivergent? Do you consider yourself neurodivergent or what?
I've never had a diagnosis, but I absolutely do consider myself like different. I've just always been different. I've always been what I always refer to as outside the wall. I relate to people like Elon Musk. I've heard him talk about how he just has these explosions of ideas in his head and he can't shut it off. And he's probably not fun at parties either. And neither am I. Don't invite me to a party. I'm going to be that guy. Everybody's like, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Like, what the fuck? I asked him a question. He started talking about decentralized protocols. You know what I mean? And so like I'm building something right now as we speak. I'm listening, but I'm always doing stuff. I'm always building software protocols. I'm like just doing, building, creating, But yeah, anyway.
yeah.
I relate.
You're part of the club too. You're invited, Brandon. We have parties. No, yeah. I think the big challenge why it's not profitable, maybe that's why, is
Hmm.
we have a high risk profile. That's I think how they present it. The needs that we have are different than a neurotypical or an average behavioral, behaviorally speaking, workforce. We need different medical care. We can benefit from different accommodations in the workforce. And so when it comes to like disabled people and requesting accommodations, I mean, not everyone wants to disclose. First off, like you're talking about your friends, Brandon, not everyone does disclose.
Right.
But if you know that you do need something, you know that there is something that you need and you need to ask for it, sometimes it's a fight. It's an absolute battle to get HR or a middle manager to understand that it's important and it's I'm telling you that it's going to help me. I'm not asking for, an accoutrement here. I'm not looking for luxury. I'm not looking for, what I'm telling you is that I need to go, be able to go work from home, because some days you don't want me in the office. Like, you don't want us at the party,
Mm,
Brandon. You don't want me in the office ranting constantly.
That's
mm.
right.
I don't want to go bring everyone else's mood and the temperature of the
Bro,
meeting
is
up or
that what
down.
happened though? Is that what would happen if you were going through your manic thing? You would just start ranting and just start talking about stuff?
I
That,
mean,
that might be
not
interesting,
necessarily, but
actually.
yeah, it could, and it's really distracting. It's really distracting. And if you're lucky enough to have developed the self awareness that you might be a little too much, in the moment, or across your life,
It's so
hey,
hysterical, man.
when
I
you
am
feel
too
like
much. I am
this,
absolutely too much. Yeah.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
too much.
exactly.
You're too much, bro.
That's one of my
That's the
favorite
best
words in
word. You're too
Spanish.
much.
That's why I'm by myself.
Demasiado. Demasiado. Demasiado, bro.
And
Spanish
sometimes
I
there's
words.
only
love
so
it.
much of myself I can take, you know?
Yep.
Too much. Too much.
The big,
Interesting. Hey, but when you guys are on this thing, it must be so good when you meet someone that you can rant with, like another bipolar guy.
Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's like almost overstimulating. It's
yeah,
like
it
So
fire
can
meets
then,
be.
what you
fire.
guys need is the Vibe Samurai. The Vibe Samurai is a good balance,
I mean,
bro. I
but Bruno,
promise it's.
I speak crazy very well. I mean, usually when I find someone who's manic, I can grok them. We can find, the vocabulary, and ideally, bring the intensity down.
But
So,
what if,
and
like, but
also,
what if he's at 3 and you're at -1? You're able to kind of like adjust or like and get to the same frequency. How does that work, actually? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, actually, this happened here, in my place like 7 years, what is this, 9 years ago. I had someone over that was very manic. He was a friend. He was my realtor's son, and he was very, not manic, because he didn't have a diagnosis of that, I should say, but he was speaking extremely quickly. It was like, this is intense even for me. And because I've had this experience of being this way before, I was able to connect with him and hope and slow him down enough so that other people in the room could also keep up. This is something that my uncle did this for me when I was in the hospital. And it's like, sometimes it's just gibberish. You don't know what we're saying, and we can't
Mm.
sometimes. And when you're not making sense, that you're not making sense gets into your head. And then when you're in your head, like, oh no, they don't understand me, I'm making a fool of
Yes.
myself. Or more than that, like,
Yes.
I can't get the space idea, the space travel idea. I couldn't get it out. I couldn't find the words. It didn't make any sense to me either. But I was lucky to have my uncle in the hospital that day, and he was able to grok it. As I was saying, had some connection to him, and it brought it back down to earth and grounded it. So, I mean, look, peer support gives you this opportunity. When you won't make sense to your doctor, maybe you won't make sense to your parents or siblings, but finding someone that walks the walk that you do, walks the same path, you will find a way to ground it. And
Mm.
I've been lucky to.
Yeah. Hey,
We
Brandon,
get,
you got
yeah.
a question? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, there's a pinned comment. Is that what you're referring to, Bruno?
Yes, yes. Hmm.
Yeah. So they're asking Brandon and Bruno, what is your biggest perception of, was it bipolar and ADHD? Is that what they were asking?
Yeah. What's your impression? Let's talk. Yeah. Mhm. I guess I guess you're so familiar, but and then I'll tell you mine. But what do you think is your biggest perception or misconception of bipolar?
Yeah, like, well, I see like kind of society at large, but I mean, it's a personal thing for everybody, how they perceive it. But I feel like the generalization for most people, like the baseline in society is like maybe somebody that's bipolar is going to be really erratic, or maybe they'll be really subdued and then they'll just be like crazy, man. And it's like, it's kind of scary, right? And they don't know when it's going to happen. So I think it produces the idea that produces anxiety for people because they don't understand it, right? I'm just I don't know, I guess theorizing what I see is like the pervasive idea in society. Me
Bro, that's
personally,
me. That's me. You just described
right?
my view.
Like
You
in
described
ADD or
exactly. Yeah.
ADHD, I think most people just kind of see them as like maybe like children, like, oh, they just can't pay attention. And I think
Yes.
they're faking it. Like, I think they could pay attention if they just tried harder, or maybe they just fried their brains with too much TV or something like that. But they
That
don't. They
was
don't
my
really.
perception, bro. You described me for everything. That's exactly what I thought, Rose. I'm being serious. Wow.
I think
Yeah.
that's the generalized perception, that the misconceptions that we have to overcome by educating, folks, maybe, right? What do you think?
What's yours, Bruno?
It's the same. He literally described what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Bipolar is like, oh, you're right. Oh, you got to be careful. Okay, be
Hmm.
careful. You don't want to. You got to go
You want
walk
to
on
set them off,
eggshells. You want to set them off, so you got to walk on
right?
eggshells. That's my impression. You
Mm-hmm.
know. And ADHD is just like, oh, what the hell? They're playing too many video games. They can't. They're faking it. Yeah, exactly. Right. They
These are
don't
the
really
stigmas
need it.
that we have
They
to
don't really
overcome.
need it. Exactly.
Yeah.
They don't really need this stuff. It's just you stop
Yeah,
giving them
we
too
can
much
we
sugar.
can
Too
just
much
threaten
sugar.
them and they'll pay attention better or something, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. That's so. It may not be something that is obvious to others, but you can be really. It can be scary to have this condition and to have symptoms in public. It can be really frightening because it's a
Mm.
traumatic experience to have your freedom taken away, to be locked in a hospital, and
Mm.
not know how you got there because you were injected with a sedative and you woke up in the hospital. Now you're here and they won't let you leave. That's a
Or
really
worse,
scary thing.
if you come into contact with law enforcement in between you even get to a hospital and maybe they're misconceiving what's going on and you wind up with a firearm drawn on you, something like that, right?
Yep.
Really, they're not trained for this
Could be
kind of
life or
stuff.
death. Could be life
They
or death
don't.
for
They're not.
people.
They're not trained for this kind of stuff.
They're
Not all of
definitely more
them.
trained now than they have been,
Yeah.
but that doesn't necessarily mean
Right.
that the training kicks in before the stigma.
And we don't
Yeah.
know what call they just came from. Maybe they just came from like a really hyped up scene and they haven't had a chance to unwind because they're on another call and here they are and
Mm-hmm.
they're just crossing the wires of what they were just in.
Yeah. Hey, but
Yeah.
Jeff, how do we deal with the stigma though? So Brandon gave a great demonstration. He literally was very accurate in terms of my misconceptions of bipolar and ADHD people. So this is a really gigantic problem. You're on a very challenging mission,
I'm
right?
here for it.
Because I'm like an open. I told you this during our calls. I'm the
Mm-hmm.
best audience because I'm
Mm-hmm.
very open minded. Okay, I'm gonna check things and have a thoughtful kind of opinion about it, right? But
Mm-hmm.
yet, this was my misconception. So, how do we
Yeah.
fix this then? Yeah.
How do you fix it? I think more people share their story, and I think what would you say that you're well, based on my interactions with you today and what I shared and how I've been on the call. Hopefully, I've normalized that people with bipolar, like you're saying, Brandon, can be brilliant. Not that I am, but the point is that you don't have to be erratic. You're not toxic. You're not dangerous. I'm not that guy. I'm
Mm.
not. And so the more people that tell their story about what they see, what they did, and what that gift could be to humanity or to society, and the less people end up becoming afraid and responding accordingly. Uh, I think that's how the stigma goes away. And in my perspective on this, because I
Mhm.
I coined the term or used the term bipolarist, and I feel like that I am bipolar.
Mhm.
I think we have to own the label and we have to write the story. And so the
Mhm.
more people sharing their story and the more content that you see from people who actually have it rather than from storytellers or, uh, you know, people that don't understand the experience,
Mm.
people that don't and
Mm.
repeat things like you see on the news. Um, for years, you'd see that.
Mm.
The more people share their story about what helped them get stable or what helped them or what they saw even, what
Mm.
happens to you, and even sharing the parts that are not so
Exactly.
great. That's
Mhm.
how we get over it because it's the
That's
issue,
right.
the biggest issue is ignorance. People don't know anyone that has this condition. So the only thing that they know is what they saw,
Yeah.
you know?
You're the first
Exactly it.
bipolar guy I know. You're the first bipolar guy I know.
It's been a pleasure.
That's
No,
that's the cure for everything. Is the ignorance? It's racism. It's all the things, right? It always comes down to ignorance. That's what it is.
yeah,
Speaking
yeah.
of ignorance, Cisco, welcome to the stage.
Speaking of,
What the hell?
hey, nice to meet you. Very late to the show. I did not hear a lot, so I apologize for that. Hopefully, I can listen to a replay. But I guess as a question I was having is, as someone not experiencing that, how could we be better support systems for people in our lives that are? I haven't. I've only met maybe a couple people, and they've told me their stories of going erratic, and I just wonder, like, I mean, it's incredible patience for us to have if it gets to that level,
Hmm.
but maybe it never gets to that level, and there's just like different kinds of bipolar. So I'm speaking uneducated and ignorant, I guess. So I would wonder, like, how would you tell us to be a better, more compassionate, like, support
Mm,
system?
mm.
Honestly, I didn't get your name. Is it Sasha? Did I get
You're
I'm
Sasha, bro. You look
Cisco.
like a Sasha.
Cisco?
Cisco.
Hey,
Cisco. Nice
Cisco.
to meet you,
Hey,
Cisco.
Jeff. Cisco is my young partner. He's been my co-host on Vibe Sesh X since day one. So
Oh,
he's
an
done
X. Gotcha.
45 Vibe sessions with me. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm late to the show. So Cisco, first off, I'll say that you don't sound so ignorant. You sound like you've had some experience with some of us, and just the empathy that I feel and how you're asking the question.
Mm.
It sounds like you have more lived experience with the condition than a lot of other people might. So thank you for asking. First off, that's huge. Um, and I think I was earlier in the show. I was saying that I have a mood chart, a range that I track my mood by, from -3 to +3. It's not a tool that everybody uses, but it can. And that mine just that's my range. But you can ask someone, you know, where would you put your mood today? You know, if you center it on 0 or 1 to 10 or whatever you use, and having that
Mm.
number is a really good way for that person to get visibility into their own symptoms. You can chart this over time, and eventually you can make a graph, and you can figure out, on this day I ended up having I did something that got me, or I saw someone that got to me and I got triggered, or I ended up dipping because I didn't sleep the night before. And that's the biggest contributor to an episode for us, is that we don't sleep
Mm.
well. A lot of us, we just don't sleep well. So what
Mm.
can you help them do? I mean, I'll tell you what my family did for me when I was really manic and we didn't know what was going on. They used to cook me heavy meals,
Mm.
really heavy meals, because you get so much into your head and you're flying. You're absolutely flying, and you can't center anymore. You can't ground yourself. But eating a heavy meal can
Mm.
knock you out, and that's
Oh,
what they would do for me.
tell me about the heavy meal. What kind of heavy meal did you chomp down
Oh,
on? Was it
so
like delicious heavy meal, or was it like it was delicious?
nah, nah, dog.
No.
I'm lucky. My mother, my family's Dominican, so we got
Oh, okay.
yeah. No, the food is
Mm.
delicious. She just made
Oh,
some tres golpes for breakfast, man. Some mango with red onions and vinegar and fried cheese and some dude. I'm lucky,
I'm
but
so hungry right
so
now, bro.
good.
I'm gonna order some food right now. I food.
Yeah, no, it's something that sticks to the gut, or some meat, for example, and so that's one thing that they would do to help me, is to get me back
Mm.
into my body,
Mm.
encouraging people to get out of the house, because look, bipolar isn't all about mania.
Mm.
It's not all mania, and a lot of people only have experience bipolar depression and don't get to that range. It's not something that they deal with.
Mm.
But finding ways to get someone out of the damn house, man. You can get so
Mm.
reclusive. It happens to me still. You can get, like Brandon was saying, like you can get not invited to the party. Get them out of the house. Take them to a museum. Go take them to the gym. That's a huge
Mm.
one.
Yeah.
But listen, and I think that's what you did, Cisco. So listening is one of the biggest ones.
He's a
That's
great
one that
listener. That's why he's my co-host, Jeff. He's the Vibe Samurai Junior. You understand?
gotcha.
Mhm.
He's the apprentice.
He's the apprentice. Yeah. Hey, Cisco, tell Jeff about our relationship. I love your story time.
Yeah, and my brother's talking on the side, so if you hear him. But yeah, I mean, the Vibe Samurai, he just created a very simple system where I'm not trying to speak at people, I'm trying to listen. And he
Mm.
taught me this idea of threading, where, like, for example, you just brought up like food. as part of a method to support you. And he was like, "What food did you eat?" You know, so these are like specific threads. As someone, like, you could giggle before you say something, or you mentioned food just now, and I'm gonna like, why? And you want to lean into your curiosity and be authentic with it. And it's just really trying to explore people, because we came from a Bitcoin community, so we didn't really want to get technical and get all boring and all that shit. We wanted to learn about the humans behind Bitcoin. Like, why are you in it? Why? And we got amazing stories from people all over the world, all over America. And, you know, we just showed up every Thursday, and I was an introvert, so I was very scared to speak to people. And he saw potential in me. He invited me to co-host. And, you know, I continue doing it every Thursday as well. And it's just it really opened me up to how simple connecting with people is. And if you just lean into your curiosity, and especially being authentic, that's his most important lesson. Because, like, if you don't appreciate me for who I am, then we shouldn't have a conversation in the first place, you know?
Yeah.
So
That's great. That's great. Yeah, you can learn from anybody.
that's what we
Yeah, you can learn from anybody. I just learned from you. And so when you assume that you're not going to benefit from some conversation, even with someone who's manic, you know, you miss out.
Yeah. It's
Really miss out.
He told me you can learn from the lowest to the highest. Like, we have man-made hierarchies, but humans are humans. We're all the same consciousness with just different perception and different life
So
experiences.
Cisco, so you don't care now that you're young, because you always had this limiting belief that you're 24, so
Well,
you can't
you
contribute.
provide a safe space that I feel like I can speak my mind, because older people can shoot me down for just being young. And you gave me a safe space to just speak my mind, whether it's stupid or not. You know, you just
Damn,
gave,
you're right.
you know,
I just didn't
non-judgmental
care about
space.
your age. I just literally don't care about your age. I just care that you're present and we have this good frequency. That's very interesting, actually.
So
Nice.
presence, resonance, and transformation, that was what he, like, taught. So I try to listen twice as much as I speak. So
Yeah. And I've been speaking a lot because I've been so excited. So Cisco, thanks for reminding me. But Bruno's got the systems, guys. He's got the systems, and you know that's a good takeaway for me too. So thank you.
Cisco, but like that food catch, I see you, man. You caught the food question that I asked Jeff. I'm printed.
And that's the roller coaster you create. Like, you have good questions, and then as he's speaking, it generates unique things you could have never.
He's doing a play-by-play on the Vibe Samurai.
He's a good improvist.
It's crazy.
He's very good.
Jeff, let's move on. Amazing conversation so far. We're wrapping almost in 20 minutes, but let's get to some other stuff. The Joker. Tell me about the Joker. Why do you like the Joker so much? It's very, you know, the culture romanticizes like this emotionally intense character, right? But dealing with that in real life is not the same, right? Like, so, you know, so what do you think that about the Joker? And you seem to relate to the Joker a lot.
I do relate to it. I didn't realize I told you about that. So that's cool that you
told me. No, remember you made the video?
You watched the video.
Yeah, we watched it together the first time we met. Yeah.
That's right. That's
right. And there was the Joker, and I feel like you got this connection. Tell us about him, and you know, like,
okay, so for context, guys, I made this art therapy piece. It's a hype reel, and it was just like something for myself to get myself out of a funk. If you want to watch it, it's at bipolarist.com/hype, and it's a good watch. It's 2 minutes, but it gets me amped up. And one of the scenes in the clip I just borrowed from the movie Joker is the Joker character when he's like locked in the cell, and the Joker character when he's like smiling, but he's actually crying, because that's the thing that his emotions get crossed. And so the things that I think they do really well in that movie, like you learn about him having had brain damage, having had this where he has this card where it helps explain to other people the reason why he's having this weird response, or this inordinate reaction You know, I can relate to that. Or having he's laughing when he's crying. He's crying when he's laughing. That sort of thing. The disconnection with what other people experience or how they experience some emotion and how I experience it. I think that, you know, I thought that was a really interesting depiction. So I'm not the same way, you know, and I'm not deranged. And so, and I'm not, you know, I'm not the character, but I do think that he does a really good job. They do a really good job in that movie of portraying him in a strange sort of anti-heroic way, because the city of people that in Gotham at that time in that movie are being like, you know, they're an underclass. The whole city's like fallen to, you know, under the billionaire's control. And so a lot of people rise up in support of this guy who's, you know, building a movement. I don't think that it's necessarily, you know, it's not the same, but the idea that he's doing something that resonates, you know, it resonates even though it's not popular. I think that's an interesting concept. You know, the anti-hero is an interesting concept, and Batman himself is an anti-hero.
Batman himself, right? Yeah, but like Joker is someone that the system pathologizes, right, and who turns out to be a distorted mirror of society's own dysfunction. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, that movie is so powerful. I don't. Yeah, I just there's so many things there, but Joker, that movie in particular, they treat it differently. You know, they treat it differently. Yeah, those interviews when he's with the therapist, dog, like that, like, and she's like trying to tell him what it is, and he's like, "No, I'm really, I'm on some other shit." Like, pardon my, I just love that. I just love that movie, and those two scenes in my clip they mean something to me, but it's not necessarily. It's not, you know, it's just a hype reel. It's just a clip. It's just a montage of scenes. But if you watch it, you can understand what it feels like to be me in that moment.
Yeah. Hey, what do you think of Kanye West and what's happened with him with the bipolar thing? This is very hot. I want your take on it. I know you're not a therapist. I know you're not a whatever. But what's your opinion on the whole Kanye West situation?
Dude.
See, you know what? That did not do a good job for the movement. Kanye West, in my opinion, right? Like,
Well,
I feel like at least the way the news portrayed it, like he's like, he's crazy. He needs to apologize for all this anti-Semitic stuff, and like,
well,
he
the
went
anti-Semitism is
wild.
one thing. The bipolar is another. But what I can say is the man's a virtuoso. That's a once in a generation talent. It doesn't happen that often. Is he the best artist of our time? You know, that he was convinced. I can say that I don't know of anyone else like Kanye West, or you know, the Kanye, what he calls himself gay or whatever. The Kanye that we all learned about in the first three albums, that series. I mean, those albums are perfect. So what happens thereafter and then the next three too? I mean, the music is incredible. To me, it's a virtuosic talent. But what happens when he gets a bipolar diagnosis? He gets humbled. And ultimately, you get humbled, and I think that's what we saw happen in real time and in the public space. Is that he lost it? You know, he became fixated on ideas that weren't his best. And sometimes that ends up happening to us, and you end up betraying your good intentions. You end up undermining the work that you did in your career. You know, you end up, what you say belies your good meaning. And so I think we watch someone have a manic episode and get humbled. And I think that was
But you don't think he had
different for
systems?
him.
You don't think he had systems in place like you do right now? You seem very disciplined with the scoring system. I'm at a
That's not my
plus.
understanding. No, he went through something similar to me. I mean, he was on a similar same medication at the time, as I understand, but he was, he was under a different kind of stress. To be a billionaire and to be at that level, I mean, I can't imagine what that's like. I don't think anyone can. It's a whole different level of pressure, you know, and feeling that pressure and the way that he is. If you listen to the lyrics, if you followed him for a while, where he wants other people to feel the same way as him, you know. He wants you to feel like you've got some Kanye in you too. You know what I mean? And I think that's a gift. I don't look at him as an evil being. You know, I look at him as someone that you don't see a lot of those. You know, and I think it's a gift to watch that happen and watch him grow too. You know, in real time and in live. It's a gift. about bipolar, you can't hide how you feel sometimes, you know? You end up falling apart in front of everyone. And it's humbling.
It's authentic.
And so it's authentic. And you end up as a result becoming comfortable with just falling apart and building yourself back up, you know? And so that building yourself back up becomes a muscle too. And not everyone has to learn that to rebuild. That's a skill. You know, and so we end up having to learn that. It makes us more resilient, you know. So I think we watched someone go through something that was very humbling for him, you know, and we'll see how it plays out. But I can say that the person is extremely talented. I can say that, and it seems to be a lot of those people in this community.
Wow. Cisco, Brandon, you got anything?
No, I think that was great. It's interesting. Go ahead, Cisco.
No, go for it. No, I was going to bring up that Kanye question.
All right.
I was really curious because to imagine for so long, maybe, because I don't know if bipolar just appears or it's something you've always had and it was dormant or you didn't understand it. And I wonder, do episodes like, so this is kind of a different question, but because I would think of an episode being today, but could it last a week? Could it last
It could last a year. He said it could last a year.
My scenario was that I was on medication that was pushing me up, and I would, you know, it's if it's induced, that's one thing, but yeah, it needs to last several days or over a week in order to be diagnosed as a manic episode or get to diagnosis of bipolar disorder. So there's it doesn't happen and it's not just a moment. You know, I think that's a different diagnosis. The people that deal with that, where you go from one emotion to the next, that's a different experience. It's usually more like a trend, and it's gradual. It's, you know, it's not something that happens just like in the same day. You can have a version of this is rapid cycling bipolar that is more, you know, your mood's more volatile, but you're still only having, you know, you're not having it happen hour to hour. That's a different experience.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I agree that it didn't put a good light on it. And, you know, he went towards like, oh, my doctors are making me a zombie. They're just pumping me with this shit. And yeah, I agreed with the Vibe Samurai where it definitely put I guess I interpret it as a worse stigma on it. And you just think people are erratic and untrustworthy because they could flip at any moment kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a hard one. And I think AI is actually going to make an interesting, it's going to help us, I think, because the brain that we have, all of us, it's prone to stereotyping. And you're depending on, you know, legacy equipment to make decisions and find patterns that, you know, they might not be accurate. So AI can find signal from noise better than we can, you know? And so I think, yeah, it's a really interesting thing with it, you know, when it comes to, yeah, anyway. But, yeah, it was
an immediate response. Like you have a chat bot companion, you're like, dude, I'm going through it. I need something non-judgmental.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you can give, I mean, look, when you talk to these large language models and you give them word soup and they can digest it and they can grok it and tell you what it is and put it into order. I mean, it's almost like that's a perfect babble fish for someone with mania. You know, if we could find that thing to listen to us when we're ranting and then it could digest it and translate it, I mean, that'd be a wonderful gift, you know?
Wait. So you haven't done that? You haven't done that where you went to a manic and you're talking to AI? You should do that and write an article about that.
I will. It's got to wait for a manic episode to come.
Bro, you got to do fun things like that, man. Like, you know, like I'm reporting from the in between.
Live from a manic episode.
Right, live from the manic. No, but like for me, I've been telling everybody, all my friends and everybody, that I'm reporting live from the in between. I'm going from one identity to the Vibe Samurai, and I'm reporting to you live. And a lot of my videos are about that. Like, so, you know, that kind of thing where you got the manic thing going on and you're like talking about it and you're talking to AI, and what does that look like? You know, because you're right. Sometimes I just ramble to AI and he figures out, oh, okay, you're talking about that. Oh, I was. Okay. And he makes sense of like just my rambling. So imagine you guys using AI. Yeah.
And imagine being misunderstood for most of your life. And then you have some machine that understands you so well. I think it's easy for someone who's never been understood or doesn't have people around them that do get them to talk to one of these machines, feel understood, and wow, what a dopamine rush that would be. And I can see how it becomes, you know, too much, how it can really unravel you if you end up depending on this machine as the only source of validation, because you don't have great people like Cisco and, you know, and Bruno and Brandon listening to you. So yeah, it's an interesting thing, but I think it's going to be very powerful for folks that are disabled too.
Wow. What do you think, Brandon? AI, huh? Interesting.
It's his field too, right, Brandon?
What's that?
You're in the mix as well. It's what you do
Oh, with AI?
as a software engineer.
You use a lot of AI,
well,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a software engineer, but yeah, I use AI every day. I do a lot of building, but yeah, I think it's incredible. I think we're just scratching the surface, you know, and I think it's going to compound and exponentiate. And going back a little bit to the Kanye stuff, like I feel like he got shaped a lot. Like the whole thing was shaped by the media, you know. And the hell with the media, man. I'm so sick of those pukes. They're so inauthentic. Everything's about a story. Everything's about like perceived through their lens, and they can shift like an entire thing. Like I just feel like if I knew him and I was hanging out with him, and it's like, wow, okay, he said some weird stuff about Jews, like whatever, man. He's just kind of going through it right now. But the media's like, oh, can you believe it? And it's like, and just think about how hypocritical they are. Like they were upset because he was black and not a Democrat. Like, oh my God, can you believe that? And then like he said something about the Jews, and then like the mostly left wing media, like then they hated the Jews not too long ago, right? So it's like they're so hypocritical. So I don't really listen to what they have to say about other people. You know what I mean? But like I feel like I understand his fire, his touched by fire, and that's more important to me than like maybe the little bit of gobbledygook that he said, or like he touched on, or like he acted out, or what he was wearing. You know, it's like the media is so powerful, and I get so sick of that. You know, but anyway,
They're so powerful, man. They're so powerful.
The real story is the connection. You know, you guys talk about this a lot in the content, and you know, the connecting with a person with this is going to give you a much better insight. You know, you guys have, thank you. You've been so curious, and I've ranted I've ranted so much on this show, but it's thank you for asking, thank you for listening. And if I can give anything else to your audience, just go talk to a lunatic. Go find yourself a bipolar person. And just listen to them.
All right,
you know?
but they won't kill us, though, right? They won't kill us. They won't go get crazy.
Violent people are violent, but bipolar people aren't violent. And that's a big misconception.
I mean, anybody could potentially kill you. It doesn't have to be a bipolar. So, I mean, who knows?
I thought all of them. I thought all bipolars could have the potential to kill me. That's really what I thought. Biggest misconception. But Jeff, we're winding down. We're on to our last 7 minutes before we get cut off. And you've been an amazing guest.
Thank you.
We talked about this, but let's talk about self-trust and growth, right? Because this self-trust piece, how do you trust your own mind? How do you trust your own mind, Jeff, when it's betrayed you before? Because you know what? During our clarity calls, I'm a pattern guy. This self-trust thing is still there, man. You know?
For sure it is.
Yeah, and you're using Claude to help you out with that too, right? You're helping.
Yeah, I'm using everything I can, and you know, and asking people like you that have the insight that I need, that I still have. I still have skills to learn. You know, what did I say to a peer? Curiosity is the best cure for certainty. And you know, and when you get overconfident, you're so convinced, it's almost like it should be reflexive that you should just know. Oh wait, I better ask a question, or I better actually look into this because I seem to be a little bit too up on myself. You know, and that's self-trust is a factor for people with bipolar, because you end up having people tell you who you are, how you should behave. Professionals just, you know, diagnosing, like you said, Brandon, pathologizing your behavior. And they seem to get the confidence to do this and say that, you know, become experts on who you are and who you want to be. It's also a challenge because you end up, like I said earlier, like Kanye and all of us, you end up undermining your good intentions by saying something impulsively, you know, doing something that you didn't mean to and that you wouldn't do otherwise if you were in your right mind. And when that happens to anybody, you know, it's it happens to us with some frequency. It's humiliating, you know. It's humbling. So when you end up having this happen to you enough times,
Mm.
it can really shatter your trust, you know. And I actually, you know, I had a girlfriend that I depended on because I wasn't well enough to know what the right thing to do was. You know, I was going through a lot in midlife. You know, a lot that I went through. Dad died. I got divorced. Lost my job.
Mm-hmm.
Mom had cancer. A lot of things went down, and I fell
Mm.
apart. And so I had a girlfriend who was, and you know, a fiance eventually, that was like my right hand. You know, she
Mm.
was. I'm so grateful for her still, but she was. I could trust her to help me know what step to take next. You know, I could trust her to check on me, or to you know, I could trust her.
Mm.
And then
Mm.
I ended up trusting her more than I trusted myself.
Mm.
You know, and that's
Which
where
is
it gets
good.
really dangerous.
Which is dangerous. You're dangerous.
Yeah,
Mm.
and ultimately you're the captain of your ship. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You're the one in charge, and so when you have to defer, when unfortunately you have to trust people that are telling you when you're symptomatic, you know, that you might be symptomatic. You have to be curious enough or have systems in place to reinforce that you may or may not be, and that has to
Mm.
be objective. That's the benefit of having someone, a professional, diagnose and monitor your condition or medication. It's it's
Mm.
it's um it's necessary to have an objective, you know, an outside perspective on how you are when you have this condition. So you can fall victim to outsourcing your trust to others,
Mm-hmm.
and that's dangerous. You know, that's really dangerous, and it can stunt your growth too.
Mm. All right, Jeff. So, where do we find the bipolarist? What are you building? What's any final thoughts? Anyone watching who got diagnosed or is scared, or what's your message? Yeah, what's
My
your final?
message, man, my message is just gratitude. Bruno, thank you for having me on the show. Brandon, Cisco, you guys, you're doing something special, and I aspire to get to your level. You know, so I'm here to learn
Wow,
and following
wow.
your audience and in your tribe. But yeah, check me out at bipolarist.com. I'll be putting more content up. Bruno's encouraging me to publish more essays over
Yes,
the
let's
years, so
go. Yeah,
you're going to
yeah.
see me push more stuff out. But yeah, and join the Bipolar Social Club. That's a plug for them. They deserve it. It's a good place to get the support that's helping a lot of us, you know,
Uh,
achieve these levels. So
Hey,
yeah, thank you.
Jeff, but you could tell from this what we were interested in, right? And what we were curious about. So you should turn this into content, like review all of this stuff. There's a
I
lot of
will.
interesting content ideas from this whole thing, right? Like even your comments about Kanye was very interesting. That could be a very interesting article. You know what I'm saying? Like something that touches the culture, but you're able to bridge that. And
I'm going to
like
remember
because
that.
yeah. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks, Brandon. Thanks, Cisco. Thanks, Jeff. Remember, the label was never the limit. The story was always yours to write. Good night, guys.